July 4th, Independence Day 2023. Hey, this is Mike's Mastermind. I hope this will be a quick one. This is my pseudo philosophy podcast, and also I want to sort of add, like I did last time, to another podcast and actually a future book and course and training I hope to develop called lovingconversations.com, lovingconversations.com. And the purpose of that is to really, hold a space. This is the premise that no matter what we're going through, the central tenet of our true nature, and coming from source, whether that be spiritual or from your heart, is love. And if we can agree on that, then we have a basis, sort of a foundation for us to speak and talk from. And from that realm, if you think about like one of Gandhi's many quotes, like to use his dictum, you be the change, right? Well, he also talked about that one should also be very open to criticism from people they may not like, because that's probably the people they need to listen to the most, because there's some truth. And rather than just attacking or denying or obscuring, just being heard in this instance might be revealing to oneself. So this allowing is also coming from a loving space, because you're one appreciative of the opportunity, and this allowing is going to allow for full participation and for people to engage the subject matter, and perhaps you and your behavior, or at least the perception of who you are, that in a way can be talked about rather than defended or taking offensive positions. Do you know what I'm saying? It's sort of in a space where there is true alignment to the principle of what we would define as a loving conversation. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it or go along with it, but to have it, on the table and fully taken apart, where there's a dialogue in this dimension, that's divine. Because if you can appreciate it on this level, to the person being able to get it off their chest, whatever it is that's been bugging them, or it could be a concern, and it can even be fear, right? That, gee, if we take it to this level or confront that issue or problem, it's going to be difficult, perhaps. But within this realm of having a loving conversation theory, lovingconversations.com is where we could have this repository of interviews and all these kind of things where we talk with experts, people who have worked through these issues, whether they be in relationships or negotiations or just standoffs, to where, things needed to be worked through. My premise is that if we come from the perspective, or if we really care about the person and really care about resolving the situation and having a breakthrough, then we can let it go. Let it go to the degree to where whatever needs to occur for it to work out. Most of it's just being heard, right? So there could be things we have to deal with and responsibly take care of. And if it's an issue of money being owed, debts get repaid, working through whether it be behavioral issues, the reasoning behind something, if somebody wanted to know why, there would be an honest assessment and admission. I think another good book I do would be Confession Therapy, and out of the Catholic realm, although whatever works, was having this idea that we could have a loving conversation and loving the process and really being sort of honoring of the other person. I think changes the dimension to what may have been stuck in the past to now it can resolve. There could be reconciliation and healing. So it's something to consider. Lovingconversations.com. All right, well, that would be a very, very, very short podcast. I stopped here at almost at 4 minutes. So do you want a bit more that we could engage? Well, if there is something that's really important to you and you're really caring about it, then we can approach things in this level to where no matter what it is, we can talk about it. We can confront issues. And from, again, a place of strength, which is sort of a confidence that you'll be treated fairly. It's going to be a situation where conditions that are going to allow for us to be able to at least approach the area of concern and the problem, whether or not we have a breakthrough or not, is progress. And that's where we want to come from, but also maintain. So we constantly want to check in to the TIE principle, TIE. Is this a good time? Are we making, the type of progress? Is this still of interest? And expectations, are they being met? And that's also a person's energy and the environment. Is it still good to maintain this idea of exploring? And whether you call it a technique, it's just really being polite, being considered for a person's time, their interest, and how you're engaging them. That's energetically, emotionally, and that's got to encompass sort of the experience of the moment, which I write as metasphere, the atmosphere that hopefully in this case is conducive because it's a loving conversation, but checking into the atmosphere, the vibe, and being able to talk about it. And if it gets rough because we get lost into the volag of vanity, anger, lust, attachment, and greed, well, we can both recognize it and both being able to, and it could be more than two, it could be in a group process, that we're able to take a perspective that we all can see it. And with the ego being out of it, we're able to admit to it and maybe even laugh at it. And the magic is to be able to adjust. You come back to that centering so we can continue, rowing down the river in this boat of having a loving conversation. We're all in it together. So we may see things differently from our different perspectives, and we can appreciate it. The minority opinion is heard and considered. And as we make certain opinions, judgments, or sort of reveal our side, we're able to sort of have it engage from a level of what this is about. And you might want to read some of my writing on Bideck, BIDECK.masstrance.com, that talks about the processes, sort of the filtering, and to have this awareness of being able to share one's beliefs, like what's the intent here? We're able to investigate it, and we're better able to make sort of decisions that sort of chart the path, the direction in which we're going with these ideas. And this process and this working through can be very healthy, healing, and hopefully some kind of breakthrough or manifestation of an aha. Ultra being at our best moment occurs because we're so totally present that this just opens up. So anyway, this has got to be something that you experience, something that you have, and it can become, and it usually is, a contributing factor to achieving that breakthrough or that wished for collaborative aspect to be able to get clear on something or to be complete with something. And truly letting it go in this perspective is going to allow something new, and new is important here, where we're able to have something that's just great in the moment, that it's going to again allow for whatever it is that we are hoping for, looking for, or desiring, and this is a group process or just individually, or the you and I connection, is going to create a conduit, at least to be able to be clear on things and to have a conscious exploration of what it's all about. So it doesn't have to be one way or the other. It's just becoming an open process to where we each, respecting each other's position, come to some agreement, at least of what the reality is. And if there's any desire to change it, to explore what those possibilities are. And in this dimension, really creativity takes hold, the highest expression of good. We're talking about good for the whole. It's going to positively evolve things. And where there's agreement, we're all wanting to go in that particular direction or have a particular goal, then we decide on the objective and those important core characteristics that we value so we can uphold them and also enlighten the process of this experience. That's the goal, right? And so, anyway, a lot of this writing can be found at grandtourideas.com, which gets into a philosophy I call ultra beingness. Like, how can we be at our best? Ultra being present, ultra being loving. And this level is going to engage this quote unquote, higher intelligence, sort of having this pinnacle peak of self-actualization, but also transcendence, so that we're hopefully at some level having the experience, of self-mastery and expressed in the moment. And this expression is also having some impact, a positive aspect of freeing, this allowing as a gift, so other people can feel free to also express themselves. And it's all usually pretty good, someone might have a rant about something, but once they get it out, they tend to sort of, there's relief, right? So now they can release it. And that's an important part of the process of working through as well. So again, very experiential in this regard of ultra beingness. What is this realm is the exploration and the subject of much of my writing. And of course, I take it apart in this deconstruction to look at, well, we have to deal with these issues of mass trance and morbidity and the VALAG, another acronym, VALAG, vanity, anger, lust, attachment, and greed, how that's expressed in the lower form of consciousness or something that's because something's not quite right. That desire for meaning and self-expression is a bit perverted, you could say, because it's sort of off-putting in the way that it's selfish. And being able to release that so we can be this better conduit lends itself to a very, very much so endearing, loving conversation. Lovingconversations.com. And for more of these type of pseudo-philosophy podcasts, go to mikesmastermind.com. Thank you so much for your interest in listening. I hope this is something engaging for you. And please share with your friends, or at least, give me some feedback. All right. Love you. mikesmastermind.com.